The crack of his hand across my face tore through the dining room like a gunshot. My vision blurred as I stumbled back, the sting igniting a fire across my cheek. I pressed trembling fingers against the swelling heat, but it wasn't just the pain that silenced me. It was the weight of 12 eyes locked on me. Some widened in shock, others narrowed in cruel satisfaction. All of them watched, frozen in that moment. Maxwell loomed above me, fists still clenched, chest heaving with rage. "Don't you ever embarrass me in front of my family again," he hissed, venom dripping from every word. His mother smirked in her chair, delight flickering in her eyes. His brother let out a low, cruel chuckle. His sister rolled her eyes as though I'd earned this humiliation, and then, from the corner of the room, a voice so small and sharp it sliced through the air like steel. "Daddy." Every head turned. Emma, my 9-year-old daughter, stood near the window, clutching her tablet to her chest. Her dark eyes, my eyes, held a steady fire that made the room shift, made Maxwell's smirk falter. "You shouldn't have done that," she said softly, her voice calm, eerie in its control. "Because now Grandpa is going to see." Color drained from Maxwell's face. His family traded bewildered looks, but beneath their confusion, a ripple of unease spread. Maxwell's voice cracked as he tried to regain command. "What are you talking about?" Emma tilted her head, studying him with a clinical calmness no child should possess. "I've been recording you, Daddy, for weeks. And I sent everything to Grandpa this morning." The silence that followed was suffocating. Maxwell's family shifted in their seats, their arrogance collapsing into unease as the truth edged. Closer to the surface, Emma's small voice carried a weight far too heavy. "For her age, he told me to tell you he's on his way." That was when I saw it, the flicker of fear creeping into faces that once looked at me with contempt. That was when the begging began. But hours earlier, I had been in the kitchen, basting the turkey with trembling hands. Every motion ached, the bruises along my ribs from last week's lesson pulsing with pain. Still, I worked through it. Maxwell's family was coming. Weakness wasn't allowed. Weakness was ammunition. "Thelma, where the hell are my good shoes?" Maxwell's voice thundered from upstairs, making me flinch. "In the closet, honey." "Bottom shelf," I called back, carefully modulating my tone. Desperate to avoid another explosion, Emma sat at the counter, her workbook spread before her, though her eyes weren't on the numbers. They were on me. She always watched now, too. Perceptive for a child, reading every signal, every danger. The set of Maxwell's shoulders when he walked in the door. The throat clearing before a tirade. The suffocating quiet that meant a storm was coming. "Mom," she whispered, not lifting. Her gaze from her math. "Are you okay?" The words struck me harder than any blow. How many times had I lied to her? How many times had I said, "Yes, I'm fine. Daddy's just stressed." Adults argue sometimes, that's all. I swallowed the bitterness of the lie again. "I'm fine, sweetheart." Her pencil stilled. "No, you're not." Before I could answer, heavy footsteps pounded down the stairs. "Thelma, this place looks like trash." "My mother's going to be here in an hour." He stopped, mid-rant when he noticed Emma watching. For an instant, shame flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, swallowed by fury. Double quotes, "Emma, go to your room." "But Dad, I'm doing my homework right here." Maxwell's jaw tightened. "Go." She rose slowly, gathering her books. As she passed me, she slipped her tiny hand into mine, a fleeting spark of solidarity that nearly undid me. At the doorway, she paused, looked back at him, and said simply, "Be nice to Mom." The audacity of a 9-year-old stunned him into silence. But I saw it, the dangerous flash in his eyes, the fists curling. I rushed in. "Emma, go," I said quickly. She obeyed, but her jaw was set, hard and determined, just like my father's had been before battle. That kid is getting mouthy, Maxwell muttered. You're raising her to disrespect me. She's just protective, I said carefully. Protective of what? Are you telling her stories about us? His voice dropped to that low, lethal whisper that turned my blood to ice. No, Maxwell. I would never, because if you're poisoning her against me, there will be consequences. The doorbell rang, rescuing me from answering. With practiced ease, Maxwell straightened his tie, smoothed his features, and transformed into the charming son and devoted husband his family adored. Showtime, he said coldly. Remember, we're perfect. And then they arrived, carrying with them polished smiles and sharpened words, ready to play their part in the cruel theater I'd grown used to. I know Daddy hurts you, Emma said, her voice soft, deliberate, each word dropping between us like stones breaking the stillness of water. I know you pretend he doesn't, but I see it. I always see it. My throat constricted, every instinct telling me to shield her from truths she already carried like scars. Sweetheart. Sometimes adults. Mrs. Andre showed us a video. Emma cut in, her voice steady. About families where people get hurt. She said if we ever see anything like that, we should tell someone who can help. My blood froze. Emma, you can't. I've been recording, Mom. The words struck harder than any blow Maxwell had ever delivered. I stared at her in disbelief. What? Her small hands shook as she lifted her tablet, a fragile soldier presenting her weapon. I've been recording him. When he yells at you, when he hurts you, I have it all. A mix of horror and hope twisted inside me, tearing me in two. Emma, if your father finds out, he won't, she interrupted, her certainty chilling. I'm careful. I'm really careful. She unlocked her tablet, revealing a folder labeled Family Project. Dozens of files appeared, each time stamped and dated, each one a piece of evidence Maxwell never imagined existed. Emma, this is dangerous, I whispered. If he catches you, her small hand slid over mine, warm, steady. I won't let him hurt you anymore, Mom. I have a plan. The look in her eyes stopped my breath. They were ancient eyes, burning with determination far beyond her years. What kind of plan? I asked Dot. She was quiet for a long moment, her finger tracing circles on the bedspread. Grandpa always said bullies only understand one thing, my father, her hero. The man who had taught her stories of courage, of standing tall against those who preyed on the weak. A colonel, battle-hardened, uncheckable. She adored him, called him every week, hung on his every word. No, Emma, I said quickly. You can't involve Grandpa. This is between your father and me. Her jaw set. No, Mom. It's about our family. Our real family. And Grandpa always says family protects family. From that day, Emma changed. My sweet child became something else, gentle still, but steeled, her spine unbending. She moved through the house with the quiet precision of a soldier, her tablet never far from reach. She recorded sparingly, just enough. Maxwell never suspected his own daughter was building a case against him. Piece by damning piece, twice I tried to stop her. The first time, she looked at me and said simply, Mom, someone has to protect us. Second time, she showed me the video Maxwell, shoving me into the refrigerator so hard the door dented. On the screen, I looked small, crumpled, trying to disappear. Look at yourself, Emma said, her voice breaking with both anger and sorrow. Look how scared you are. This isn't love. Love doesn't look like this. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, she called Grandpa. I hadn't known until I passed her room and heard her hushed voice. Grandpa, what would you do if someone was hurting Mom? My heart nearly stopped. What do you mean, sweetheart? My father's tone was gentle, but I recognized the edge of command beneath it, the tone of a soldier sensing danger. Just. Hypothetically, if someone was mean to her, really mean, what would you do? Silence, heavy and loaded. Emma, is your mom okay? Is someone hurting her? It's just for my school project, Emma replied. But her voice was calm, calculating. Well, he said finally, his voice like steel. Hypothetically, anyone who hurt your mother would have to answer to me. She's my daughter. I'll always protect her, always, even if it's someone in our family. Especially then. Okay, Emma said softly, but I could hear the satisfaction in her tone. The next morning, she showed me a text from him. Starting to worry about mom. Can you help? His reply had come instantly. Always. Call me anytime. I love you both. He's ready, Emma said simply. Ready. For what? I asked, dread coiling in my stomach. She met my eyes, ancient and unflinching. To save us. Thanksgiving morning arrived heavy with tension. I scrambled through preparations, hands shaking, nerves frayed. Maxwell barked orders, already restless with the need to impress his family. He had snapped at me 3 times before breakfast for using the wrong spoons, for leaving a smudge on a glass, for simply existing too loudly. As he straightened his tie in the hallway mirror, he turned to me. Remember, we are the perfect family today. Loving husband, devoted wife, obedient child. You think you can manage that, Thelma? Yes, I whispered. Then his gaze shifted to Emma. And you no more of that attitude. Children should be seen, not heard. Emma nodded sweetly. I understand, Daddy. Something about the smoothness of her compliance should have unsettled him. But he didn't see it, the storm brewing in his daughter's eyes. He was too focused on his performance when his family arrived. They descended like vultures in fine clothing, each armed with polished insults and poisoned compliments. Jasmine's voice dripped sugar as she said, Oh, Thelma, dear, you really should do something about those gray roots. Poor Maxwell works so hard. The least you could do is take care of yourself. Maxwell laughed, actually laughed. She's right. I keep telling Thelma she's letting herself go. Shame burned through me, but when I glanced at Emma, her fingers were already moving across her tablet, documenting, gathering, building. The afternoon dragged on, a carousel of cuts and cruel jabs, each one designed to shrink me smaller. And through it all, Maxwell either joined in or sat back, smiling, complicit, but Emma was watching, recording, waiting, when Kevin smirked across the table and said, Thelma, you really are lucky Maxwell tolerates you. Some wives would make a fuss about, well, everything. Something inside me cracked up. Florence giggled. It's almost admirable how completely you've surrendered. You never fight back. She knows her place, Maxwell said, pride swelling in his voice, and for the first time in years, I spoke. My place. I whispered. Maxwell's head snapped toward me, warning flashing in his eyes. Thelma, but I couldn't stop. Words clawed their way out. My place is to cook, to clean, to smile while your family tears me apart. My place is to vanish so you can shine. My place is to disappear while Emma, my voice faltered, while Emma watches you. That was when he stood. That was when his hand rose, and that was when everything shattered. The slap cracked like thunder, silencing the room, scorching my skin. Pain bloomed across my cheek, but worse was the sight of his family nodding, satisfied, as though justice had been served. Maxwell stood over me, chest heaving. Don't you ever embarrass me? Again. The silence pressed down, thick and suffocating, and then Emma's voice cut through, calm as stone. Daddy. The room collapsed into silence so heavy it rang in my ears. For the first time, Maxwell stared at his daughter not with authority, but with fear. The obedient little girl he thought he ruled had vanished. What stood before him was something else entirely, watchful, calculating, and unshakably certain. His voice cracked. How long? Emma's face was calm, almost clinical. She tapped her tablet, fingers steady. 43 days, 17 hours, 36 minutes of video, audio from another 28 incidents. The numbers detonated like grenades. Kevin's jaw went slack, Melissa's eyes welled with tears. Jesus, Maxwell, Kevin whispered. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Maxwell roared, voice breaking. She's lying, she's manipulating. Emma turned the screen. The glow lit the room, exposing every secret he'd tried to bury. There he was, frozen in time, his hands wrapped around my throat, slamming me against the kitchen wall. His voice thundered from the tiny speakers, screaming about dinner being late. This was Tuesday, Emma said with casual precision. Want to see Wednesday? Or maybe Thursday when you threw the coffee mug at Mom's head. Maxwell munched. But Emma was faster. She slid behind my chair, finger poised over the screen. I wouldn't, she warned softly. It's all backed up. Cloud, Grandpa's phone, Mrs. Andre's email, the police. That word cracked through him like a whip. Police. Grandpa insisted, Emma continued matter-of-factly. He said evidence is important when bad people meet consequences. Then came the sound. Engines rumbling in the drive, car doors slamming, boots striking the porch. Emma's lips curved into a smile. He's here. The front door didn't open, it exploded inward. My father stood in the frame, towering, his military stance unmistakable. Even out of uniform, 2 men flanked him, their eyes like sharpened steel. Jasmine's wine glass shattered against the floor. The house froze. Colonel James Mitchell's gaze swept the room like a battlefield. He registered everything, the redness of my cheek, Maxwell's posture, Emma's protective stance. His voice, when it came, was a blade. Sit down. Maxwell faltered, his knees buckling. He collapsed into his chair, stripped of bravado. Emma, my father said, and his tone transformed, warm, gentle. Are you hurt? No, Grandpa, she said, running into his arms. He lifted her with one arm, but his glare never left Maxwell. And your mother? Emma's glance flicked to me, to the burn blooming across my cheek. She's hurt, again. The air iced. Over. My father set Emma down and crossed to me, his touch featherlight on my face, though the tremor in his jaw betrayed him. How long, Thelma? 3 years, I whispered. The words were death sentences. My father turned, and I had never seen such fury, cold, controlled, lethal. 3 years, he repeated softly. 3 years of my daughter's blood on your hands. 3 years of terror carved into my granddaughter's eyes. Maxwell stammered, It's not what you think. You think because you never struck. Emma, you didn't wound her? My father's voice rose, and Maxwell flinched like a child. You think a child can watch her mother destroyed and not break inside? Maxwell's mother tried to intervene, but one glance from my father silenced her. His voice, polite but venomous, cut her down. You all knew. Every bruise, every tear, you dismissed them. You were complicit. Emma's voice slipped through. The silence, small but piercing. You knew. You just didn't care. Major Reynolds stepped forward, laying evidence on the table: videos, medical records, official reports. Assault, domestic violence, intimidation of witnesses, he recited. Maxwell's composure disintegrated. This is private. You can't. Your wife signed the releases, Reynolds replied coolly. She had that right. Maxwell shrank further into his seat as Captain Torres stepped forward with a folder. Mr. Whitman, this is a restraining order. You are to leave this house immediately. No contact with your wife or daughter. This is my house. Maxwell sputtered. Not anymore, Torres said evenly. His family turned from him one by one. Shame and disgust carved into their faces. Even his mother whispered, We've seen the videos. Your father would be ashamed. And as they left, my father turned to Emma and me. Pack your things. You're coming home tonight? This Is our home? I protested weakly. Emma's eyes cut through me with clarity beyond her years. No, Mom. This was our prison. Grandpa's house is home. Maxwell's pleas broke into sobs, desperate and hollow. Please, Thelma, I can change. Don't destroy our family. I found my voice at last. You destroyed it. With every bruise. With every scream. With every time our daughter had to be braver than her father. Emma's voice was steady, final. You're not my father. Fathers protect their families. You're just the man who used to live here. 6 months later, sunlight streamed through the windows of our new apartment. I was in nursing school, finally chasing the dream he said I wasn't smart enough for. Emma thrived, wiser than her. Years the restraining order held. Maxwell sat in prison, facing the consequences he could no longer outrun. Mom, Emma asked one evening, Mrs. Andre wants you to talk to her class about resilience. What will you say? I smiled at her, at the strength in her gaze. Maybe that sometimes strength isn't staying silent. Sometimes it's asking for help. Emma nodded. And sometimes it's kids saving their families when the adults can't. Tears burned my eyes. She was right. She had saved us both. Years. Later, Emma keeps the recording safe evidence not just of pain, but of survival. She helps other children now, teaching them that evidence is power, that silence is a prison, and as she once told me, bravery isn't the absence of fear. Bravery is being terrified and acting anyway. That's what Emma taught me. That's how we survived.